welcome to the channel. My name is Tiffany and I'm going to be going over in this video how you can prime your foam using Plasti Dip. Yee! Now, if this is your first time Plasti Dipping, there are a few safety protocols that you will need to know and follow before doing this process. And number one is Plasti Dip. It is a rubber spray paint and it is terribly bad for your lungs. So you are going to need to wear a respirator, specifically one for painting and chemicals. I recommend some safety glasses. Reason being is when the Plasti Dip comes out of the canister, it will hit the surface and it will bounce back, and you do not want it to get into your eyes. As well as I always recommend some disposable gloves. It is annoying when it gets on your skin. It takes a while to come off. It does come off with hot water and soap and a lot of scrubbing, but safety gloves. As well as you will also want Plasti Dip. And most likely you're gonna find black color Plasti Dip in any hardware store, but I prefer personally using the gray color one. They're the exact same formula, but in general, when you are going to be painting your foam afterwards, gray is a very neutral paint tone to go either lighter or darker, where if you are using black, it's gonna be a lot harder to have your color go to white if you are airbrush painting or just painting by hand. And one more recommendation, because it is a spray paint type of bottle, you're gonna be doing this motion a lot, and that gets very tiring. I recommend getting this product, which is a handle that you can get, and instead of you just doing the trigger, it is a handle that you squeeze back and forth, and it's gonna be a lot less tiring for you. And I use this every single time I use Plasti Dip. Another thing about Plasti Dip is the location in which you're going to spray. And this is very important because you cannot do this inside. You do need to be in a well-ventilated area. So if you have an actual designated spray booth, that is great. But if you don't have that, you can also still do it in the garage. Just make sure your garage door is cracked and you do have a fan at the end to help push all of that air out, or you can just do it outside, but still wear that respirator for any of these options. Your results may vary depending on the temperature and the weather. Plasti Dip does need to be sprayed in 70 degrees Fahrenheit temperature or above. That means that if it is below, it is not going to work correctly. The humidity is really going to affect your drying time and as well as how well it will stick to the surface of your foam. And the example that I'm going to be using for this specific video is this wing. And this wing is made with 10 and 6mm EVA foam. Before you prime any of your foam, you will need to properly heat treat it. And I'll do a link to that tutorial that I have in the description. First step is to always prop up your foam so it is not directly touching the table, or hang it up so that way you can paint all sides of it at once. And a little trick that I use is all of the discarded spray paint lids, I end up propping my pieces up using those. Then make sure all of your safety gear is on, and I'm going to be spraying in my designated spray booth. And grab that can of Plasti Dip, and you will want to shake it up and down, side to side for at least 1 minute to 2 minutes to make sure that it is fully mixed. And before spraying it onto the surface of your foam, do a test spray onto another piece. Just make sure the cap is not clogged and you don't get any splattering coming out, and the Plasti Dip is the correct consistency. Then you can start to spray onto your foam surface. Starting off of the surface and doing an even coat all the way to the other side and continuing off of the other surface. So that way you have an even spray for the entire piece. And I find that you should be about 10 inches away from your surface, so that way you have the most even, consistent spray. And for Plasti Dip, you're actually going to be doing this in a few different layers. So your first layer is just going to be onto the surface and is not to fully coat it. So you will still see the foam through the first layer. And a reminder, if you're spraying larger pieces at once, you will need to shake the can a little bit in between every few coats. Then once you're done with the first coat, turn turn your can upside down, do a spray mist away from your piece. This will ensure that the Plasti Dip does not become clogged while waiting for your next coat. And the drying time may change depending on the temperature and the humidity, but typically it should take anywhere between 45 minutes to 1 hour for your first coat of paint to dry. Then repeat the same process for your second coat, and you'll start to notice that less of the foam is going to show through that layer, and the surface is then going to start looking a little bit more smooth. And once done, wait again another 45 minutes to an hour before you do your third and final coat. And after this last coat, you should not be seeing any of the foam coming through, and the surface should be extremely smooth at this point. But if you would like it to be even more smooth, feel free to do an extra fourth coat. One thing to keep in mind is if there are any visible seams or cracks in your foam, Plasti Dip will actually not fill it. So you will still see all of that, and then sometimes it will actually open those up ever so slightly. And if you plan on painting your foam after the Plasti Dip has dried, I do recommend that you wait a full 24 hours to ensure everything is fully cured. And here's a closer look at some of the samples I've made in the past of just your plain EVA foam in color black, 1 coat of Plasti Dip, 2 coats, and 3 coats. So that way you can kind of see the difference between each coat. Here's also some samples to show you what airbrush painting looks like on top of 3 coats of Plasti Dip. And last, some of my work that I have made using Plasti Dip as a primer on my foam before painting. So hopefully these can help inspire you for your own creation. And that, guys, is how to prime your foam with Plasti Dip, and I hope the video was helpful. This is actually the main way I prime every single one of my foam creations. So you can see in the background, all of these pieces were actually primed with Plasti Dip before I painted them, and I hope that this really helps for your next cosplay build, and I'll see you for our next tutorial. Much love, guys!